What I'll say is the players really bring their own fun. They're like super goofy. There's always some sort of board game happening, or like even when we stop for lunch and we're waiting to pick up the food or whatever, there's like parking lot games happening. They play Ninja. Um, so there's fun stuff going on there. And then something that Nicole did historically, um, that I'm definitely looking forward to continuing as a tradition is a surprise like Culver's or other ice cream trip after a big road win. So
Hello, welcome to the United Soccer Lounge. My name is Riley James. This is Goals TV. And today we chat with Jen Larrick, the head coach of the Minnesota Aurora in the USLW League. They're the three-time defending Heartland Division champions in that league. With Cup final experience, they look to win their first league trophy this year in 2025, and they are some of the favorites to do so. Jen's first year in charge, but she was an assistant for the first 2 years of the Aurora's existence. But man, they have a fantastic culture, a fantastic club, a community-owned club in Minnesota as the Aurora kick off their fourth season here in 2025. We chat with Jen about what changes that she makes versus what doesn't need to change about a team that has three back-to-back-to-back division championships. How to get over that hump, and obviously the recruitment process of players, but also like what do you guys do for fun? You're in that bus for a long time, you stop for lunch, you stop for different things. What are the players doing to keep themselves entertained? We talk about all of that with Jen Larrick on today's program. Well, thank you so much for watching the show. You can subscribe to us on Goals TV, the United Soccer Lounge. Like it, share it, comment your favorite thing about Minnesota or anything that you'd like us to know about the show, Jen, USLW League, or the Minnesota Aurora. And obviously, YouTube. Please subscribe to Goals TV on YouTube.com. That'll do it for us off the top of the show. Please enjoy this interview with Jen Larrick of the Minnesota Aurora. Soon to have her first season as the boss on the bench. Please welcome to the show, head coach of the Minnesota Aurora, Jen Larrick. Jen, thank you so much for coming to hang out. How are you?
yeah, thanks Riley. Thanks for having me here. I'm good. We start on Monday. How could I not be excited?
We're recording this on May 2nd, 2025. So it's before you guys start playing. It's an exciting time. Whenever USLW and USL League 2 comes into the fold and we have the summer season kickoff, it's really great because you have the end of the Super League, you're in the getting into the meat of the championship in League One, and then the two pre-professional levels. It's a fantastic time for our show because we have plenty to talk about, but also if you just like soccer and you have plenty of things to choose, whether it's
There's so
pre-professional
much
or the
USL
professional.
going on. Yeah, there's so much USL going on. You must be overwhelmed sometimes. It's a lot.
I am trying and petitioning and pleading with my boss to give me two times a week instead of just the one because of all the stories available to us
Yeah,
here in the United States. It's a fantastic thing though. It's a good problem to have. Is who am I going to have on the show this week? And
yeah, it's cool to see so much soccer in the US for sure.
and for a team like Minnesota, right? Like they've had such a large amount of success in this new version of the USLW League. To be able to win the division three times in a row, a cup final in 2022. I mean, this is your first season in charge, but you spent 2 years as an assistant. What should people know that maybe don't watch the USLW League, haven't had the chance? What should people know about the Minnesota Aurora as we start playing in 2025?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. I think for me, where I always like to start is that we're a community owned club. We thousands of community owners raised over $1 million for our first season in 2022. Like that is what allowed us to launch and be so special. We've had this like really incredible groundswell of support from the ground up. And to me, that makes me really proud to be a part of the club. And I think it makes us different. And I think it makes our fans that like extra ounce of passionate because they're not just fans, they're community owners. So I think you can really kind of feel that energy and that spirit in the stadium. And yeah, I think other than that, I would just say that our players are incredible. That's why I love coaching at this club. We get players who love soccer so much they want to play all summer long in addition to their Division 1 college seasons.
Yeah.
Or, they love soccer so much they have professional aspirations. And so we get these like incredible players. We train at 8 a.m. all summer. They wake up super early and, they work crazy hard. So that's the other thing I would say is like Minnesota has really been built with the players, and because the players are so committed, so great on the field, so fun to watch. So yeah, coming out and watch them do their thing. It's really fun.
Yeah, and it's been so cool to see the reaction from the community. We talk all the time in soccer about um, the culture and the atmosphere of some of these stadiums. You guys are a pre-professional club, and it is sold out, and it is a raucous atmosphere, and it's a difficult place to play if you're not wearing an Aurora uniform. Like it's so cool to see that, and you go back to some of the conversations they had with like MLS expansion. Like, is this going to work in the South? Is this going to work in the North? Is this going to work wherever? It works in Minnesota. We see that with the MLS club. And now we see that with you guys, where like people just love soccer up there.
I will say every single chance every opportunity I get to, I will say the fans are a huge part of what makes us special. The energy in the stadium is incredible. When we hosted the final in 2022, it was one of the most special moments of my whole career. And when the game ended, we were obviously, gutted we didn't win. But the players themselves, of their own volition, started taking a lap. It even like makes me tear now, taking a lap around the stadium and just started clapping for the fans, because we in 2022 we had no idea, were we going to show up for our first game and it was going to be empty.
Yeah.
And it certainly wasn't empty. Like the community showed up for us, built an energy for us, and yeah, to be able to thank them in that last game was really special. And even when opponents come play us at home, you can see before the game opposing players come on the field with their phones and take a video. And I think it's sort of both an intimidating and a really cool experience for opponents too. So I think for me it's just really special that our players get to play in front of such an energetic, exciting crowd. Yeah, and women's soccer players are incredible, and they deserve that kind of energy at their games for sure.
And we were in Dallas about 2 months ago. It feels like yesterday, but 2 months ago, and we saw that with the opposing players coming into the Cotton Bowl in the USL Super League level. It's like taking photos, videos, all that kind of stuff. Like women's soccer's in a great place in this country, and it's because of the USL Super League. It's because of the W League. It's because of everything the national teams kind of brought to the forefront the last 30 years of being able to have successful soccer in this country for people who deserve it,
Yeah.
just as much as the men. And it's been really great to see the W League, not even just at the top level of where you guys are, but everyone have success in their communities, and bring people in, and bring college players in to play this game through the summer. It's been a really cool thing, but we can talk about W League all day long. I want to talk about Minnesota Aurora
Yeah.
in 2025, right? Because this is your first year in charge, right? Like we said, you've been a part of teams in the past, but
Yeah.
you know what works for this club. And obviously, the turnover from season to season is a lot higher than maybe professional leagues, but you know what works for this group of players and for what this community has been able to do in the past.
Yeah.
But also, there's things that maybe you've wanted to implement. So how do you blend what has worked in this culture, in this environment, with maybe a couple of things that Jen Larrick wants to do as she takes
Yeah.
over in charge?
What a great question. And it's from a astute soccer person, clearly we do preseason meetings with the team over video calls through April, and we just recently did our game model, and there's literally a slide just on that. So our game model comes from sort of the original Aurora DNA, the base of what we built together, coaches and players together in 2022 and 2023. I'm really, grateful I was there at that time.
Yeah.
So I was a part of building that Aurora DNA base. And then for me, the game model has to continue to evolve. And so the added elements this year is our current game model for 2025 can be influenced by the people in the room. What are the personal player qualities and what are they going to bring? Based on how we recruited. And then what are the qualities of the coaching staff? I'm not going to give you too much detail on that. We have incredibly experienced and qualified coaching staff. I can't say enough how excited I am to not start working, because we've already been working together, but continue
Right.
working with Mel and Cody. They both bring professional level experience, super knowledgeable about soccer. So that expertise will continue to shape the game model. And then last but not least, just really working in developments in modern soccer. The game's always evolving at the highest level. There's always new tactical tweaks going on. And we watch that as a staff, and we think about sort of what can best help our team in our context. So yeah, it'll be sort of a fun blend of those three things this season on the field. And I think the goal is to really honor what we've done before, because it's been successful, it's been fun, and then to build upon it, and see what we can do.
By the way, shout out Cody Copper. I actually I interviewed him during my time in Major League Soccer. I doubt he remembers because it was a one-off. It was just a couple minutes, but like he's a great guy. So it's really great to see him in Minnesota doing his thing and to be able to provide some goalkeeper leadership up there. It's a
Yeah.
great thing. I'm sure he's very well received up there.
Yeah, Cody's a great guy. I've really enjoyed getting to know him. Super kind, super knowledgeable, and just like incredibly passionate about soccer for the state of Minnesota. Like, grew up in Minnesota,
Yeah.
loves the game, really wants, yeah, soccer to thrive here, and newly invested in a big way in women's soccer. He's got a young daughter, so he's super passionate about the women's game as well.
Yeah. That's awesome. I saw that news as I was preparing for this. My God, that's a cool thing. Good for him
Yeah,
and
he's good. He's a
good
good
for,
dude.
good for the Aurora. You mentioned the history of this club, and look, you were a part of two very successful teams. They had a successful stint when you were away, and now you're back in charge of this club. A league final in 2022, three division championships. The ultimate goal is still out there to win the league final.
Yep.
What are the expectations, and how do you plan to get over that hump in 2025 with this group of players and this coaching staff?
Yeah. The expectation is always to win the whole league. That we have that conversation with recruits day one on the phone. Um, we ask for full commitment through the end of July, because we aim to be in that final. Um, what I would say is, I'm a big Pep Guardiola fan, and he talks about every season you just want to be there. You want to be in it at the end. You want to be in the mix. And I'm super proud, because Aurora historically has always been in the mix. And absolutely the goal is to win it. But in order to be in the mix historically, what we've done is focus on the process. We don't get overly obsessed with, the July 20th date on the calendar. We think about day in and day out. How are we showing up at training? How are we treating each other? How well did we execute the game plan in this last match? Can we review the film? And we recruit really just like motivated young women. And they hold themselves to this like really high standard. So for us, it's about knowing we're capable of winning the whole thing and sticking to the process each and every day, holding each other accountable to the process each and every day.
You mentioned something there, being in it at the end. That's the most important thing when it comes to trying to win a championship, is having opportunity to put yourself in a position to win the championship. Now, there's players who are going to return. There's players who's been a part of the success, and you know, we are dealing with people who are in college. I'm 24, so I'm not much older than a lot of the girls on the team, but like I know complacency is a real thing amongst people our age, especially the generation and all these different things. You as a coach, dealing with complacency and obviously when you get to that point in the season, how do you plan to combat that even in May? Thinking about these things that could happen possibly middle of June, maybe early July.
Yeah, it's a good question. Um, Again, these April preseason meetings, we've already had a chat about team expectations. What are players' expectations of coaches? What are players' expectations of each other? And we've already had a whole meeting about competition. The players themselves said they want the training environment to be competitive. And we had a whole chat about like, what does that look like? What does a healthy competitive environment look like so that we're able to help each other improve and still function as one collective unit. And I think in part the brevity of the season kind of helps with that idea of complacency. This season it's hot and heavy. Um, you're just sort of always met with a new challenge. And then I would just say at the same time, we don't recruit players who aren't interested in winning the whole thing. Like I can't really emphasize how excited our group is to start on Monday and how much they want to win. All of them have talked about wanting to be back in that final. I remember what it was like to be there and watch us, not win when we had a penalty kick in the last second, and they do too. And they just want to enjoy it and go after it together. So, yeah, I'll just say I think we have the people and the culture in place where complacency has never really historically been an issue.
By the way, that's your vocabulary word for the kids watching at home. It's brevity. Go and look that one up. That's a
Yeah.
fantastic drop right there. Just in the middle, just very casually. It's uh Jen, I didn't throw in the pot, but like she is incredibly educated when it comes to not just soccer, but the the actual proper education that people should probably have through their life. That's
I'm working on a doctorate. I'm a bit of a nerd, and yeah, I apologize if I come across nerdy, but I've tried to just embrace that in my life. I like a good library. I like a documentary and educational podcast. It's just who I am.
and it's who Minnesota Aurora hired to be able to lead them through the season. They understand who you are, and they picked you to be the right person to lead this team, and it certainly has been a fantastic process to see who you have recruited and brought in, and you're not a stranger to this organization. You're not a stranger to the process of winning. So it definitely is a fantastic hire. There's a lot of pride in being a nerd, right? That's a great thing. We're all a nerd in something. Some of us just like big words.
Oh yeah.
Couple things, two more things to get to. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us. We certainly appreciate you.
Yeah.
Um, so we going back to the fans, going back to the community that you guys have built as the coach, and as you go into the fourth season, what is the plan to engage this community? Winning is really great, but there's an expectation to win these things. How intertwined is the club with the community as far as different events? Obviously you got Rory, the Aurorasaurus, which is fantastic, but the players and how involved are they with the community and everyone that comes out and watches them play, not just on Saturdays, but definitely just during the week.
Yeah, well, I'll just speak to that kind of from the sporting department's perspective. This season we have a really cool element, which is that one of our players, Summer Diamond, is going to be an intern with the community department at Aurora. And she's going to work to just kind of set up community engagement opportunities for the players. And so for me, as someone who's lived in Minnesota for a long time, I absolutely love Minnesota. I love the Twin Cities. I've worked all across various levels in the Twin Cities. I've coached, little tinies of all genders. I've coached club and high school and college, and obviously Aurora. And I just think we have a really incredible landscape of women's soccer here, really incredible community in general. And I want the players to fall in love, especially the ones not from Minnesota, to fall in love with Minnesota just like I have by the end of the season. And I think community engagement is a big part of that. And I also think it's helpful as a player when you're wearing Minnesota on your shirt and you're representing Minnesota. It's really helpful, I think, to go out and like actually get to know Minnesota. So
Right.
we've got some cool community engagement opportunities set up for players. And then we're also inviting some organizations in to watch us train. And then we'll have a quick chat afterwards. So just a quick example, Power Soccer is Minnesota Power Soccer is going to come watch a training session. We'll chat with them afterwards, and then we're going to go watch one of their games. And I think that kind of like reciprocal, like community engagement both ways is a really cool way to do it. And I'm personally excited to learn more, and I think the players are excited to be on that journey too.
Because it's one of the things I've always found really interesting about Minnesota sports is you have the Minnesota Vikings, the Twins, the Timberwolves. you guys, I mean, it's Minnesota. It's not Minneapolis. It's not St. Paul. It's not any of this. It is the state of Minnesota that you were representing. And I've always thought that community aspect was really, really interesting. And it's proven itself through all the different sports in town. And you guys have been the biggest proponent of that in the soccer landscape as far as the women's side. It's a fantastic thing what you guys are doing. I wish you the best of luck throughout the season with that. But there's one more thing I have to ask you about. We have to have a bit of fun. This is a
Okay.
yeah, it's the United Soccer Lounge
Okay,
for
perfect.
so there are trips that you guys take.
Hmm.
Um, there are bus rides. There are hotel rooms.
Yeah.
What is the bond? What do you guys do on the trips to get away from soccer for just a moment? Like how do these trips go and what's usually the what's usually the overall takeaway from some of these trips? I don't want to get anybody in trouble with some of these stories, but
No, the trips are always fun. You always come back from your first trip feeling more like a cohesive unit than you did when you left. What I'll say is the players really bring their own fun. They're like super goofy. There's always some sort of board game happening, or like even when we stop for lunch and we're waiting to pick up the food or whatever, there's like parking lot games happening. They play Ninja. Um, so there's fun stuff going on there. And then something that Nicole did historically, um, that I'm definitely looking forward to continuing as a tradition is a surprise like Culver's or other ice cream trip after a big road win. So it's really fun to like get on the speaker in the bus and say, we're going to get ice cream. And then the other person who like absolutely needs to be mentioned here and who brings the fun nonstop is Steven, our bus driver, Steven. I don't know if you've seen that he's like an Aurora social media star.
yeah,
Um,
no, I have.
like Steven like will get on the field with us and like help gather balls, or we'll do our dynamic warm up with us, and he can like absolutely get the players amped up. He'll give you high fives, he will sing for us. Um yeah, and when we're driving home and it's like super late, like 2 a.m., you can always count that like Steven's in the front singing. So overall, it's just like a really fun vibe with cool people and cool personalities. And I think what we do is we make room for everybody's quirks and weirdness to shine, and overall it makes it more fun.
I cannot imagine like walking into I don't know, I'm envisioning a strip mall where you guys maybe stopped and ordered food, you're waiting on it, the bus is outside, and you have four or five, you know, soccer players playing ninja in the parking lot.
Look,
Just
I
walking.
can picture the Olive Garden that happened outside.
Of course it was Olive Garden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They treat you like family.
I was just gonna say, when you hear your family.
And that's what Minnesota does, is when you're there,
Look,
your family.
the Aurora players, they love an Olive Garden breadstick. I'll tell you that.
That's now like how much of a cap do you have to put on? Like, hey guys, we got to play again next week to the breadsticks.
We put we encourage players to be thoughtful about what they consume.
Right after the Culver's ice cream, but that's fantastic. Jen, thank you so much. This is a lot of fun to be able to hang out with you for a little bit. Best of luck this season, and hopefully we talk to you in July after you have a trophy right next to that one in the office.
Yeah, I'll send you a picture as soon as we get it. No,
What?
in all seriousness, thank you so much for hosting me, and thanks for what you do to shed light on the USL, especially the women's side. It's super important. We need as much women's sports in the media and on television as we can get, and thanks for doing that.
Absolutely. What? Out of curiosity, what is that trophy in the back?
This is our UPSL team. So we actually have an Aurora 2, a reserve squad. And that's part of what you talked about, that connection to community. So our A1 group, our USLW group, that's the best players from across the whole country. And
Yeah.
so we have that reserves group that's really a pathway for people from Minnesota. The idea there is really to embrace your local soccer players and give them a super healthy home too. So they had a the Aurora 2 group had a great season last year, and that's their trophy.
Well, let's get those players into the first team. Let's keep winning
Yeah.
trophies on both levels, but definitely the USLW finally get that monkey off the back and bring a trophy to Minnesota.
That's the goal. The losing in the final haunts me to this day, so that's absolutely the goal.
Let's go make up for it. Jen, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us. Best of luck this season. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone at the Minnesota Aurora for helping make that happen. Shout out to Jen for doing that just days before her first season begins in the USL W League as the head coach of this team. They're a fantastic community-owned club in this country. Could not be more grateful to highlight stories like this, and hopefully we do a little bit deeper if they do, in fact, win their first USL W League championship. So, super exciting season ahead. Please watch the USL W League, whether they're in your community or you can find them on the internet. Please make sure to do so. You can get in touch with us on the internet at RileyJamesIAC on Instagram and X. The show's Instagram account is at USL on Goals. The parent company is at goals.tv on Instagram, at goals_TV on X. And you can find many great creators as well as the entire catalog of this show exclusively on goals.tv. That'll do it for us. Thank you so much for watching the show today. For Jen Larrick, I'm Riley James. If anyone cares, we'll see you again next week.